Hey there, it's Mackenzie, your host of Winning. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast. If you have a business that you would like to promote to thousands of people, send us an email at podcastwinning@gmail.com or send us a message on social media. I cannot wait to hear from you. Now on to the show.
Winning is your guide to making it in business. Join our award-winning host and entrepreneur, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and special guests in casual conversations that will educate and inspire you on your business journey. Winning will help you learn the hard lessons the easy way with guidance from celebrated entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's fun. It's informative. It's winning.
Hello and welcome to Winning. I am your host, Mackenzie Kilshaw. And today's guest is Melissa Mellor. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, Mackenzie. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. I was just saying before, I've seen some posts recently that we need to talk about that you did that are blowing my mind. First of all, though, I want to just say a little bit about you and then have you give us the lowdown on yourself, too. So Melissa's a public speaker. She's an executive leader, a business automation guru, which I think we need to talk more about that, too. Operations mastermind, champion for women in the workforce, and she's revolutionized how we lead, grow, and scale businesses, which is so important, right? She is the CEO of Hey You Human, which is a globally recognized mental health and human wellness company. And also what I want you to talk about more, you were the recipient of the most innovative well-being CEO for Canada in 2022. Congratulations. That is huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Love it. Okay, so I want you to just tell everybody that's listening, who are you? What do you do? What does all this stuff mean?
What does all this stuff mean? Absolutely. Yeah. So as Mackenzie said, my name is Melissa, and I'm the CEO for Hey You Human. And Hey You Human, as you mentioned, it's a globally recognized mental health and human wellness company. And we really teach people how to be happy, like genuinely happy, not like happy for a moment, like wake up and like, you don't have aches and pains in your body. You have energy. The work that you have to do is inspiring and innovating. The sound of your kids isn't like nails on a chalkboard.
I get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like genuinely happy. I'm born and raised in Saskatoon. Went to have my commerce degree from the U of S. And it has been my, I would say, passion and now my career to just champion women in the workplace. I spent 15 years in hazardous waste, which was not my desire when I went in and out of commerce, but I found myself in hazardous waste and spent 15 years dealing with all things corporate strategy, RFP, pricing models, contracts, ERP implementation, human resources, hiring, firing, training, everything. All things corporate. And I really liked it. I had the privilege of working with really great people, but I was in a male-dominated industry. And as most of us are, because let's be honest, there's a lot of industries that are male-dominated.
Yeah.
And I really had this deep passion to be kind of a beacon, be an example for women that can rise into leadership and into executive without losing who they are as a woman.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. I came across, it wasn't Hey You Human at the time, but I came across our founder, Sarah Longoria, about three and a half years ago. And we were just, long story short, a match made in heaven. And we created Hey You Human out of the desire to fix humanity, really help humanity wake up and realize you're worthy of so much more than what you're settling for. And I think women especially need to hear this message.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think it's one of those things, and we're going to talk about this more, but when you're a woman, you have a lot of hats, right? You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a friend, you're a sister, you're all of these things. You also are a professional person who has a job or a company, and it's really hard to, and people, when they ask, like, how do you balance everything? Like, I kind of want to gag a little bit, I'll be honest with you, because I don't actually think there's ever a balance, but there are ways, like you say, to truly be happy. And I think a lot of people aren't living that, right? They're living moments. They're not living true happiness. And we all should be. what's life without being happy?
Well, what's the point? Like at the end
Yeah.
of the day, if you
Yeah.
just have a couple of memories that you cling to, and a bunch of money, like awesome. Like, what's the point? What is the point? And, to your comment on finding balance, I think a lot of time we think balance means I need to sacrifice A for B. I sacrifice my sleep for quality time with my kids. I get up early. I go to bed late. I sacrifice, I have freedom and flexibility, but that also means I work everywhere and I'm on the clock 24 hours a day. We don't realize actually how much our human sacrifices. And we tend to believe that we need to give something up in order to find balance, but that's not actually how it is. We've just never been shown or taught how we can create emotional balance in our body so that as we move through the day, even if your day is very overwhelming in the outside world, your body isn't overwhelmed by the stimulus that it's taking on every single day. And that's exactly what Hey You Human teaches you. Most of us, especially female entrepreneurs, we're not looking to cut back. We want more. We want to conquer the world. And our ideas and our passions all of a sudden become our drain. They all of a sudden become like this project that you've created, this monster that you've created for yourself.
To-do list.
You hate it. It's very conflicting. And what we don't know how to yet look at is all the emotions, all the conflicting emotions that are inside of our body that are causing that reaction. And so Hey You Human teaches you how to actually access those emotions, release them, so you're no longer stifled really by all of your emotional congestion that you have since childhood. Like it's not even big girl problems. It's little girl problems that are living in us that we've just carried around with us our entire life. And believe it or not, when you release it, life just isn't that heavy. It's really, it's simple.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like when I had my stores and I was trying to network and I was trying to be a good boss and I was trying to be a good friend and all of the things. And it was like, I felt like I never did anything really that good. Because I was going, well, right? Because you're going in so many directions, you're being pulled in so many directions, and then kind of everything, you're tired, you don't maybe eat as well, you don't work out, all of those things go because you're like, well, I'll skip the gym because I want to do this. And all of a sudden you're in a exhaustion state and nothing's good, right?
It's hard to get out of it too, because you're so exhausted that you're like, oh, great, another thing I need to do to fix it. Awesome. Right?
Yeah. No, it's true. I love what you're doing. Okay. So you were in hazardous waste management, which is quite the flip. So did you always have an interest in this? How did you get into it? Like, how does that happen?
Well, the least inspiring stories, you just fall into it, right? How it came to be was really meant to be. I was in hazardous waste, and that was the industry. And I had done many different types of positions. I'm one person that I think a lot of women can relate to this. You master it and you're like, I'm bored. I'm on to something else. And that was very much myself. I've mastered it. Check. I've done all of this. I want to try something new.
Yeah.
And at the time when I entered into this mental health space, really, was on mat leave with my third son or with my third child, and COVID wasn't quite a thing yet. And I was at home, I was on my mat leave, and I was one of those people that always had contracts, like side hustles, if you will. I always had contracts, I always had clients, because I couldn't just be on mat leave only taking care of my kids. How
crazy would that be?
Why would you do that? I needed a project, I needed work, I needed mental stimulation. And I had done freelancing for 10 years before that, before freelancing was really cool. I had done it before. And through that, I just developed a whole suite of skills that the online world needed around automation and building an online business. And I was really in a unique position because I knew how to build corporations, and I knew all the structure and the infrastructure and the pieces that went into a large, multinational corporation. And then I started working with mostly women who had their side hustles and they had a passion, but they didn't know how to run a business. And so there was a nice little niche for myself to come in there and support them and tell them what needed to happen so that they could think like a business owner and not a service provider. One of my clients was Sarah Longoria, who is the founder of Hey You Human. And it wasn't Hey You Human at the time. And I started doing work for her. And one day she was like, what do I have to pay you so that you're 100% mine? Like, you're done with the company that I was at. You're done with your other clients. I want you to be my COO. Like, and we had such good synergy. Like, we are yin and yang. She's in the clouds. I'm on the ground. We know how to deal with our emotions. So any of our differences actually bring us closer together. And before I decided to make the jump, I had my own business management consulting company. And I don't know if I really cared what I wanted to do in terms of industry, but I really wanted to create a space where women could have it all without sacrifice. They could have a job that paid them well, that gave them freedom and flexibility, that they didn't need to be working and hunched over their computer at all hours, that they were working alongside another working mom that understood, like, work when you need to work. Bring your baby on the call. Nurse. I don't care. Feed your kids. Put headphones on. Like, girl, you do you. Like, I get it. We can do it all.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to create something like that. And I had said to Sarah, I want that vision and that mission to continue. If I join you, I really want to create something that's different. That's not the hustle culture. That's not a workaholics, like, achieve culture. And she was like, girl, I'm right there with you. I don't want that either. I want people to be paid well. I want them to feel good. I want them to feel connected to their work. And that's what I want. Like, that's why I want you. And at the time, we were very much in the manifesting spirituality realm. So we talked a lot about energy and manifestation. And she had a technique at the time. It was called the rapid manifestation method. And we were teaching people how to manifest faster. The unintended byproduct of this was that people were happier. They were calmer. Their relationship with their kids and their spouses got better. They had no stress. They had no more anxiety. And what we were teaching people is how to dive into their subconscious beliefs and clean out your subconscious energy to attract the energy that you really want. And then we started watching like what was happening with people. And we started doing more work around mental health and around stress and around anxiety and around depression and around digestive issues and back pain and neck pain and, all insomnia, all the things that our society is just, God, crippled with right now.
Yeah.
We were like, the emotions.
Wait a minute.
The emotions. And I said to Sarah, like, this is very, like, let me just like toot her own horn. I was like, this is what the world needs. You're watching everybody just crumble. The workforce can't sustain people anymore. Everyone is overworked, overwhelmed. Look at our kids. Like, this is the other thing that I'm like, okay, we've all worked for like 40 years. We've been alive for 40 years. We've dealt with stress. Now look at our kids, and our kids are like 10, 12. They can't cope in school. They have social anxiety. Holy smokes. What happens when they deal with, quote, real, and I don't want to say real problems, because to them, they have real problems, but when they're an adult and they have financial issues and like, they have to put food on the table, all of these things. And I said to her, oh my God, we are doing the world a massive disservice by only marketing to, I'll be honest, privileged white women, because that's what most of the spirituality industry was. Yeah. And I said, like, this is for the world. And that's the short version.
That was pretty short.
Hey You Human was born a year later. And now here we are teaching humans how to be happy.
I love that. And I love what you said about the kids aspect of it, because honestly, like, I remember being a kid and I played tons of sports and did everything. I never once was like, oh my God, I got to go to baseball practice again. And now it's like, all these teams are so competitive and everything is so, like, if you do gymnastics, you do it 4 times a week, right?
This is my daughter right now. Like, and she's not competitive. She wants to be competitive. And I'm like, I want to protect you. I want to protect your schedule. And like, also, I think it's unreasonable to pay $5,000 for an 8-year-old's activity. Like,
I know. It's wild. I know. It's absolutely wild. And they still have homework and they need friend time and they need time for just to chill, right? Just to be kids.
And to play and live in imagination land and
get
on the street. And like, what happened to all of that?
I don't know. It's lost. I want it back.
Not
necessarily. That's right. Not necessarily. I think too, that's the thing, right? Is that our lives have become so overly scheduled, overly planned. And then you're right. You get anxiety. I know for me, I call it my 4 a.m. magic hour, which is not magic at all, but literally witching hour. It is my witching hour. But I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and be thinking about things I have to do today, tomorrow, whatever you think of, but things you have to do. Did I pay that bill? What's happening with this? What do we have tonight? And you don't sleep. Like, that's crazy town.
And then you're tired.
And you're tired.
And then you're a grouch. And then your kid needs something, or your spouse says something, and you're like, or your employee says something, or a deadline gets moved up, and you're all of a sudden like barely hanging on to like, all right, you're like the tea kettle, like just waiting to like boil over, right? And when I look at humanity right now, that's how everyone is sitting, is they're trying to get the absolute most out of their life without pouring over. And the problem is that when something that you cannot control, big things like a pandemic, little things like your kid gets, sent home from school sick, or your spouse is like, crap, I'm working late. Hey, can you go pick up the kids? An employee quits, stuck in traffic. All of a sudden, your emotions are just, you can't contain them anymore because you've been living on the edge of this bubble, and then life happens. And instead of being like, oh, well, you've lost it. You've become a whole new person.
Yep. I feel too, like during COVID, you mentioned COVID, but during COVID, I felt like a lot of the stuff went away. And I don't know if that's because there wasn't the sports and there wasn't, so that stuff fell off. But it seems
we got
like
a whole new suite of things.
You got a whole bunch of new things to deal with. But I feel like now that time has passed, and it's almost like worse now, I feel, for myself maybe, because I feel like I had kind of a break, I'll maybe say. And now it's like things are back, pedal to the metal, and it's just crazy town,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We had a little break, and then depending on the size of your company, I hear so many companies are just struggling to find quote unquote good people. They're struggling to find a passionate workforce. They're just struggling. People are struggling because they're completely disconnected from their life. And I talk to many women that they're like, I don't hate my life. Like, I have nothing to complain about. I have a good job. We make good money. Everyone's happy and healthy. Like, who am I to complain? But something is off. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't have a zest for life. I don't feel good, right? I feel like every day is just kind of taking a little bit out of me one day at a time. And, if you hold that energy for the rest of your life, at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, is that what you want? Is that how you want to reflect? Is that how you want your children to see you, or your grandchildren to see you? That you're just like, I really want there to be, I want someone to look at me and say, she lived, like she was awesome. And it wasn't because I was jet setting around the world. It was because I had the energy to be present, and I accomplished a lot, and I'm inspiring, and I'm fun to be around, and I'm not like a wet blanket, Yeah. And I think a lot of us are just like, we don't have that energy because we're so bogged down with our old icky emotions, and we don't have that space any longer to give to someone else. Our cup is overflowing. Like I literally cannot pour into another person right now, right? We're constantly like, I can't. But you gotta deal with your emotions.
So how do you do that? I mean, we're gonna send people to you. But do you have any like just small tips that you can give to people to like have that happiness and that joy, and not just be, and I have to say, and after that, I don't want to forget, you did a post the other day about stress. and that
Yeah.
stress isn't real. And I like mind blown. So that's my follow-up question. But what are just a couple of things that we can do so that we're not at that tipping point? A huge thank you to our sponsor, Just For You Day Spa and Wellness. Just For You is Canada's premier day spa with 5 locations in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The award-winning luxury spa features Leah Reese cosmetics and iconic Betty jewelry that you can also purchase online. Visit www.justforyoudayspa.com to book your service or to purchase a gift card.
At that tipping point? Well, first of all, what we need to do is reframe our understanding of emotions. Right now, we look at emotions and logic as the same thing. I have a deadline, therefore I'm stressed. What we don't realize is that emotions, there's like 4 key emotions: happiness, sadness, love, and anger. And anger is one that we all have inside of us that we have been told our entire life to keep at bay. You don't yell at people, you don't scream, you don't snap, you don't hit, but we're animals. Like if we were in the wild, we would die.
Oh yeah.
We literally never fought back. We are animals. We need to reframe our idea on how emotions work. We are emotional beings. If you are listening to this and you're like, I don't have emotions, problem numero uno, you have emotions. If you have not cried in 20 years, ladies,
Yeah,
that is a problem. Crying is a form of an emotional release. If you shed a single tear and stuff it back up, you are stifling your emotional experience. If you're getting anxiety and you're taking a deep breath, just breathe through it. I'm not going to let this bother me. You're ignoring your emotions. We have emotions, and emotions are good. How you deal with emotions and how you release emotions is what we need to change. So instead of being frustrated and snapping or giving your spouse the silent treatment or getting all pissy and sending an email and being like, that'll show them, that is an emotional response.
100%.
Instead of taking our emotions out on other people, you need to learn how to release your emotions on your own. And you can release emotions outside of an emotional state. And that's what Hey You Human teaches. And so if you wanted a quick tip, if you wanted a freebie, Hey You Human, we use the rapid relief technique to start trudging up emotions and releasing them. So we teach you how to do that. And you, whomever, can learn the rapid relief completely for free. So this isn't a sales pitch. You can learn it for free if you go to heyyouhuman.com and you can learn the rapid relief technique. And it really teaches you how to access those emotions and release them. What we tend to have a problem with is even acknowledging our emotions, because since day 0, we have been told to calm down, to take a deep breath, to go into timeout, that is unacceptable. We've heard enough. And so what we've kind of been programmed to do is ignore our emotions. So pay attention to your body, pay attention to the things that, like if you made a list of everything that just pissed you off in a day, everything.
It would be 20 miles long.
That's right. But those are emotions, guys.
Yeah.
And then you start releasing them. And then all of a sudden your list isn't so long anymore. All the judgment, every comment that you read on Facebook or on Instagram that you're like, what the hell is that? Every like, boop, boop, every emotional response. And I call it your body's visceral response. I don't even call it emotions, because most of us don't understand our emotions yet. Every visceral response that you have has an emotion associated with it. Every time your throat is closing up, every time your heart starts beating, every time you're sweating, every time you're like, I'm going to forget this, I'm going to forget this, I'm going to forget this, that is ruled by an emotion. So really start paying attention to what is going on in your body and how many visceral responses you have. And in the beginning, you're going to have a million of them. And then those are things that you start to clear. And then as you start clearing them and releasing them, not like, oh, I acknowledge that I'm angry. I am so angry, right? Like we have this, people are like, I got so angry. I sat there and I was like, I am angry. We're like, okay, cool. Did you hit anything? Did you yell? Did you scream? Did you cry? Did you like become a 2-year-old temper tantrum as an adult woman? And they're like, no.
I sat there.
Like, okay, cool. You acknowledged your emotion, but you didn't release it. And so it's like learning how to walk as an adult. This is a life skill that we just weren't taught as kids. And what's really fascinating is when kids have the opportunity to release their emotions, it is so cool because they don't have programming. And it's so cool to hear them be. My son has said to me before, Mom, when you yell at me, it makes me feel like you don't love me.
Oh, die.
But think of you being yelled at as a little kid and your little internal brain going, my mom doesn't love me. Yeah. Thus, you create a cycle of like, I'm not loved. I don't deserve love. If I do this, no one's going to love me. Or you become a perfectionist, or you learn how to get your love. So you strive. Achieve. Am I perfect? Do you love me? I got
people 90%. Pleaser.
Yeah. And it starts to control you. So it's such a privilege to watch people learn who they are again. And have these revelations and just watch them have a zest for life that I think most of us are craving, but we've kind of locked it away because we haven't quite figured out how to achieve it. And so you don't want to be disappointed. So you don't go after it because you're exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love, this is so intriguing to me because you're right. It is such a different mindset than we have because we weren't taught this.
No.
Right.
We weren't.
Or you were taught, have your moment, right? Okay. Like have your little moment and then move along.
And move it along. Or like when you want to have your moment, this is the hard thing. I always say the biggest thing you carry in your life is the biggest thing you carry in your life. And that is not more true than watching a 2-year-old struggle for their independence, or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old. And they want to do something and you tell them no, and they're devastated. And then us sophisticated adults are like, give me a break. I said you couldn't have puffs or whatever, like, right. Yeah. Whatever it is. No, you can't wear that today. Whatever the thing is, that's just devastating to a 2-year-old. And we tell them, no, this is unacceptable. You're being ridiculous. Relax. Oh, you have it so bad? Like you have food on the table. I'm sorry that I buy you nice clothes and I want you to wear them, right? We start kind of manipulating their emotional experience. I did a post talking about how we gaslight our kids, how they're like, you did this and I'm so mad. And what do? No, I didn't. I'm right. I'm the adult.
Yeah.
But we forget.
Because I said so.
Well, fine. If you don't like it, you can leave, right? And so we forget that the biggest thing you carry when you're 2, when someone does something to you, that's traumatic to you. Yeah. Even though it's not traumatic through the eyes of a 40-year-old, it's traumatic to a 2-year-old. And they don't feel seen and they don't feel supported. And they start to learn how to properly deal with their emotions, how to safely communicate. What happens if I share my feelings with somebody? Oh my God, my mom got mad at me. I got in trouble. Like, think about if you said to your husband, like, something really traumatic happened to me. And he was like, oh, my God, that's traumatic to you? Get over it. Would you not be like, okay, asshole, like, I won't share with you ever again?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm
really going to rethink my relationship with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we do to our kids because we know better. Or so we think.
Or so we think. You know, the other day I was recording an episode and we were talking about business, and I'm like, business is kind of like kindergarten. I'm like, be nice to people, treat others how you want to be treated. And then the exact example that you just gave is if your spouse or your friend or parent or whatever said that to you, you'd be like, are you kidding me? Right? Same kind of thing.
What? Don't you dare.
Yeah, exactly.
But you had asked about stress.
Yes, I need to know about the stress. I need to know about stress. I mean, I started my entrepreneurship 10 years ago, and I've evolved. I've started a business. I started a second business. I sold my businesses. I'm now doing a podcast and coaching for entrepreneurs. And I can tell you the stress levels have gone up and down, and some days are real bad and some days not so much.
Isn't that
And
interesting? How it's not
yeah,
constant.
yeah. When I saw your post the other day and you said stress doesn't really exist, I literally was that emoji with like the brains blown.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy that I connected.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, what do you hear all the time? Hey, how's your day going? I'm so stressed out. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. It's so like
busy. It's good. I'm busy.
Yes, we hear that all the time. And so explain please about how stress is real, first of all, but second of all, how do you come to that stress isn't real? Like you take it away because you're the pro on this.
Clear your afternoon. Let me buckle in. Stress is not real. Stress is something that is a response to stimulus. And stress is something that is a result of emotional congestion. Some days you can go on a vacation and you're like, God, this is easy. Why is this so easy? Other days you're like, oh my God, this is such a bleep, 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 bleep chore, right? Like, oh my God, no, you have all this anxiety. I'm going to forget this. Sometimes, like you said, you're busy in work and you're like, man, I am going and flowing. Like, this is why I do it. And then the other 90% of the time you're like, oh, why did I do this? I'm stressed. I'm forgetting this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overworked. I can't get myself out of this. Stress is a byproduct of emotional congestion. So we really only have 4 core emotions. All the other emotions that we have are a response to stifled core emotions. So sadness, as an example, is usually a defense mechanism of anger, and vice versa. Anger will protect our sadness. Excuse me. Depending how much emotional congestion you have in your body starts sending you signals. Whoa, warning, we're like a car. And stress, that feeling of stress is actually your body's warning signal telling you, warning, we're like at our threshold, is really what it boils down to. And so the simple answer is when you can clear all of your emotional congestion, you are no longer bottlenecked. You are no longer stressed. And when you do get that indication of stress, you can start being able to piece together, why is this stressing me out? More often than not, it's fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being loved, believe it or not, fear of being too successful. And it's not something that we consciously are thinking about. We're not like, oh, I'm stressed because if I get too big, my husband won't love me. Or if I get too busy, I'm not going to have quality time with my kids anymore. That's not something that we're consciously thinking about. And that's where it's really important to disassociate the difference between our logic and our emotions. Our logic is our brain. Our logic is our thinking function. Our emotions are a chemical and hormonal and energetic response that are in our body. They communicate to one another. But because we don't understand emotions, it's like having a PhD talking to a 2-year-old. Of course, the brain is going to win. We have become so intelligent. We have become so cognitive. We have developed so many tools to understand ourselves better, to become investigators. We're so smart. There's so much research. There's so much tools. There's so much information. And meanwhile, our 2-year-old is like, can I go now? Can I go now? Can I go now? Can I go now? And then all of a sudden something comes at us and we're like, we explode. We're stressed. We have anxiety. We're angry. We're frustrated. We want to cry. We want to throw things. We have all of these emotions and we think it's stress, and it's not. A lot of times it's sadness. A lot of times it's fear. But when you can get rid of that bottleneck, when you get rid of that emotional congestion, you're just sitting around taking things in. It's like in one ear and out the other. There's no longer this like maze that information has to go through. And it's that simple.
Yeah. And you know what? Fear, when you talk about fear, especially entrepreneurs and small business owners, fear is there all the time.
Always.
And you know what happens if you fail? Really nothing happens if you fail. You move on.
You're an embarrassment. You're not successful. You're not worthy anymore. These are all of the things that we believe, even if we're not consciously thinking of it.
Yeah.
Oof, it is deep, 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 deep. When I first started on my entrepreneurial journey, I was like, listen, I'm smart. I am capable. I'm intelligent. I have big goals, big ambitions. If anybody can do this, I can. I'm not worried about if I fail, fall down, get back up, whatever. Then I started digging into my emotions, and it really had this fear of being judged and a fear of not being good enough and being a joke, like just being a joke. Like, I'm going to spend my entire life trying to figure this out. And, it was like this punch in the gut. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And, me 2 years ago, the thought of bawling, like literally like snot bawling,
a real good bawl,
a real good cry, like that would be like, oh my God, this woman is hysterical. She's unhinged. So many times we think these emotions are actually, when you display this type of emotions, like you're actually not well. That's what we think, right?
Yeah.
You can't get through a meeting. Okay, you're crying again. You're crying. Oh my God. Why do you have to be so sensitive, right?
Yeah.
We're like, this person actually isn't stable. Don't want to make her cry. Don't want to make her upset. But when we can learn how to release those emotions outside of an emotionally charged situation, it feels really good. And then all of a sudden, hard conversations, hard decisions are actually quite easy because you don't have that 2-year-old being like, hey, hi. But what about this? But what about this? But what about this? But what about this? And your brain is like, shut up. We're not dealing with that right now. We are in boss mode, right? Like you have to let the little 2-year-old come out and play. And we have to get our 2-year-old, we have to get our emotions strong. Like emotional strength doesn't mean not feeling. Emotional strength means I'm having an emotion right now, and what is it relating to? And how do I let it go? Or how do I invite more of it into my life? But so often we want all the good and we don't even want to look at the bad. And our emotions are on a scale. So most of us are sitting at neutral. We're just like, okay, well, I'm not happy, but I'm not sad.
Yeah. Just get through, right?
Happiness, but we won't look at the sadness. We won't look at the anger. We won't look at the hurt. We won't look at the resentment. We won't look at any of that. And so no wonder we're kind of feeling insane and exhausted, trying to like move the needle one way while the anchor is sitting there on the other end of the spectrum. We need to be able to expand both ways. And we need to get a lot better at understanding that all emotions are good. There are no bad emotions, even hate, even like ugly ass thoughts. You can say them out loud or not. They are there.
They exist. They exist.
They exist when you're like, oh my God, I could kill. Okay.
Yep.
And you stuff it back up. They exist. When you're angry with your kids and you're like, my life was so much better before them. That emotion exists. And if you let it live in your body, it can continue to control you. If you learn how to let it out, you actually appreciate your kids on a completely different level because you're not lugging that piece of garbage around with you for the rest of your life.
It's like baggage.
It is baggage.
It's like carrying a backpack all the time.
It is. I often say, imagine going through life. Imagine being born and you just put this little backpack on your back. And every time you have like a hurt, you pick up a stone, just a teeny tiny little pebble because you're 2 or you're 1. You just put it in your backpack and away you go. And you're like, it's not that bad. And then as you get older, they get a little bit bigger. It goes from a speck of sand to like a pebble to a rock to a boulder. And we just keep piling it on and we're exhausted. Like literally and figuratively, we're carrying this baggage around with us since the day that we've been born and started experiencing life. And now I feel like our world is at a crossroads. You can pick up a goddamn blip, blip, blip boulder and try and throw it on your back and it's back-breaking and it hurts and you're crushed. And again, like it's literally and figuratively, like your body is sore, your body is tired of carrying this. Or you can take your backpack off, cut a hole in it and let it all out. And then learn, hey, instead of picking up that rock, don't throw it in your backpack anymore. Throw it out. Don't take it with you. Just don't carry it. It's really that simple. but we got to learn how to throw it away. And this isn't a cognitive experience. I don't want people to think like, oh, okay, now when I have an emotion, I'm just not going to let it bother me. It's not, this isn't a conscious thing. You cannot fight your biology. You have to just let it go. And I often will equate it to like, for women that have given birth, you do your Lamaze class and you're like, okay, I got my breathing. I'm so cute. I know, I got all the tools. And then you're in labor and you're 7 centimeters dilated and your partner is giving you that like perfect back massage that you guys have been practicing. And you're like, don't fucking touch me. And your body just like takes over. Like you can try, your body just takes over. And that's what's happening right now, is that we're trying to like hold in all of our emotions, and our body is like,
no, not working,
not happening. And then we're stressed, and then we were like feeling it all, but we're trying not to feel it.
Yeah. Trying to push it down. I know this for a fact from being an entrepreneur, but mental health affecting us as leaders.
Yes.
And as we're talking about this, and I'm just thinking of me being a leader and carrying all this stuff on me, and then how that goes to my staff, my teammates, my employees, whatever it is. So let's talk about that a little bit. How does this affect us as leaders? And can you be an effective leader if you're carrying this?
I think you can try. I think some people think that they are like, I put on a really good performance today.
Yeah. No one taught me that, right? Yeah.
I'm really mad at this person and I'm about to fire them, but I'm going to put on a really good performance and try and inspire them to do better. And I think a lot of leaders can try. And I'm not going to say you can't be an effective leader without considering your mental health or considering your emotions. I mean, heck, we've been doing it since the dawn of time. Of course you can, but it is a very different experience when you're emotionally clean. All of a sudden you can have hard conversations and they're actually not hard anymore. You are no longer battling this like internal monologue. And my biggest thing for leaders, I would say, is that when you understand emotional intelligence to this degree, I call it root cause emotional intelligence. I don't know if I'm allowed to like plug, but like I did a webinar for WESC on radical responsibility and leadership. And I talk about it for a full hour. So
is it online? We'll tag it. We'll find it.
I will share that with you because I really can only scratch the surface. But what I can say is that when you understand emotional intelligence to this degree, when you understand how to go into yourself and dig to your core, dig to the core originating emotion around why you are personally triggered, why you're frustrated, why you're stressed, why you have anxiety, why you do the things that you do. When you have that level of self-discovery with yourself, you see people 100% for who they are, not who you desire them to be.
Yep.
And you see it no clearer than when you're in leadership, because then you can start to see, oh, like most of us are like, I hired you to do X and I want you to do this, this, and this, and I want you to exceed my expectations. And we forget the fact that my minimum standard and your minimum standard may be different.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes, that's 100%.
Like, well, how I would do it is because I'm so smart and I built this company and I know everything. How I do it is. Or you don't even have that level of awareness and you're just disappointed in them and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Or you're turning people over and you want to know why people aren't connected to you, your message, your business, the way you are. The workforce of today doesn't want more money. The workforce of today wants to be seen. They want to feel valued.
Yes.
You could literally make somebody feel so valued and so seen at a not-for-profit. And that person, and especially now with COVID, people are leaving jobs because they're like, hashtag not my mental health problem.
Yeah.
People take pay cuts to go somewhere and feel seen, heard, and valued. And for the longest time, the workforce has been saying, give them more money and they will feel more valued. But with more money comes more responsibility. And that's not what they want. And so when you can understand and see people to that level, leadership is just completely different. People feel safe. They feel like they're not being exploited. They feel like they can have innovation if that's the type of person that they are.
Yep. Yeah.
They feel comfortable bringing up problems before that they're problems. Water cooler talk is gone. There's no more gossip. It's just a different game. And this really is, in my opinion, the way leadership needs to go. And companies, like large companies, need to start taking responsibility for mental health on this level, not take a leave of absence, not go and talk to a therapist, really understand emotions and make them okay. Like in our company, and this isn't for everyone, and let me preface this comment. This is not for everybody, but this is the work that we do. In our company, it is auto that somebody will be crying on a call. It's perfectly normal.
Yep.
It happens often. Not because people are in trouble, but because someone might say something and another person is like, oh my God, this is bringing emotions up in me. Yeah. And it's like the emotions come out. My leadership team and I, the call outs that happen out of love, absolute love, where it's like, I think you're holding, this isn't a me problem. This is a you problem. I think that this is coming out of X, Y, and Z. And as a person that's receiving that information, you're like, oh shit.
Busted, eh?
Oopsies.
Yeah.
But the innovation, the commitment, the dedication to the company, and most importantly, as a leader, being able to see that other person across the table for who they are, it just makes business so much easier.
Well, and if you can do that in a safe environment, like if you can do that and that person knows you're doing that to make them help them, whatever it is, empower them.
Like I can't say that to just a random person. Like this is a problem, not a you problem. They'll be like, F you. Like I can't you for help. Like I'm kidding, actually. Thank you.
Well, in a traditional environment, that you would just be seen as a jerk.
Yeah.
Right? You would. If that was if they didn't understand and that wasn't a norm in your organization, right? Yeah. You'd be a jerk.
Yeah. But even if you're a leader and that person sitting across the table from you isn't to that degree, like isn't there, which is gonna, some people will be like, oh my God, this resonates deeply. Other people will be like, next episode, thanks, right? Like some people aren't ready to hear it, and that's fine. But what internally is you can see them. You can see their wounding. You can see their hurt. I can't quite put my finger on it. All I can say is that when you heal your garbage, you're no longer looking at people through the lens of your own junk. And so you can see people very clearly. Yeah. And you can all of a sudden start saying like, oh, I don't think this person is a leader and I'm expecting them to be a leader. That's not a bad thing. That's just not who they are.
It is what it is. Yep, exactly.
But then here's the thing. There's emotions, we have a world that is like, if you're the boss, then you're important. If you're not if you're the person that's getting coffee, you're not important. But what if the person that was getting coffee, you made them feel so seen and so valuable and so important, not because you're giving them money and extra holidays, but because you see them. That person will never leave you.
Yeah, exactly.
That person will desire to want to give you more. And it's like that. How you do one thing is how you do all things. It's like that in leadership. It's like that with your children. It's like that with your spouse. It's like that with your friends. It's just different. And it's easy.
Yeah. And, empowerment, right? Like when you're giving them that empowerment to do things, right? Yeah. And I talk lots about delegating things, and this isn't exactly delegating, but when you give someone the opportunity to do something, be creative, make a new process, whatever it is, partially it's good for you in the sense that it's someone else is taking care of that task, but also for them, it's developing them.
Yeah.
And people want to be,
and they might mess up. And then when you
okay.
have a monkey mind that's like, I knew it, I should have done this myself. Great. Now I just wasted a week and I got, like when your monkey mind is turned off, you're just like, it's cool. Let's try this again. How can I support you? What would feel good for you?
Yeah, because the thing is, it's different. It's very different. And I like that approach to leadership. And I think we're in 2023 now. We can't keep, how, I don't know, but we can't keep doing things the old school way because that's how they've been done for years and years and years. And we can't change what's been done. Yes, you can.
Well, I often say to companies or to leaders, if you want to be a workplace of the future, you need to step into the future. You can't sit and spout, we're the workplace of choice and do literally everything the exact same as,
everybody else.
Total comps plan. And, you need to be radical. You need to be different. And those people that have the balls to do it, pardon my French, those people that can do it all of a sudden are organically a workplace of choice because people are like, I love it here. It's just stress-free. Not because you've gone down to a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
But because they're not stressed.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you perform better.
I always laugh. I've been seeing this isn't new anymore. It's a couple years ago with COVID, there's now mental health week breaks. Companies are like, we recognize mental health as an issue. So we're going to give you a week off of work, totally paid. Don't look at work. Don't look at your devices. This is your break. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, oh, have we completely discounted what vacation time is now? Are we now just so assuming that people will work on their vacation, that vacation isn't actually a vacation? And what happens when they come back to work?
They have twice as much work to do that week.
I don't see how that's a benefit.
Yeah.
So now take that salary for a week or 2 weeks and put it in, okay, go take your week off and go and work with a human and cry and get your garbage out and come out a blank slate. So when you come back to work, you know how to deal with the stuff that's being thrown at you. You're not on defense anymore. You're on offense. It's just, it's different.
We need to all come and see you.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, but
no, it's true though, because I don't even think that people realize that this is an issue in their lives.
No.
Right? Like people don't even know.
No.
It's like, I have to do what? I have to feel my emotions.
And I'm always surprised. I shouldn't say always surprised because this was me just a few years ago, but we don't know what feeling our emotions really looks like.
No.
And I talk to so many people that they're like, no, it's good. I got to the root of it. I remembered that memory from childhood when I was bullied. I was like, oh, amazing. Like what did that look? They're like, yeah, I remembered it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And what was that meltdown like for you? And they're like, I mean, I cried a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, no, you didn't go deep enough. You got a ball. You might want to beat the crap out of that person. Go punch your pillow. Like we don't know because we've never been given permission. Like
that's right. Opportunity.
We've never been given that permission. We've never been given that safety. In fact, what we've been given is the exact opposite. Don't do that. Big girls don't cry. Big boys don't cry. You're fine. Calm down. Like so much. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
And it doesn't mean too that you're just going to become a crying person all the time. No, this does not equate to being like a ball baby. We don't want to say that, but it's feeling, right?
It's feeling. And like, we're humans. You want to feel the good, you need to be able to release the bad. And the really great part, and bad isn't even the right word, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the really great part is when you get rid of your emotional congestion, you're no longer picking up old, gross, hurtful baggage.
Yeah.
You're just looking at it and releasing it. You're a blank slate. And it's such a privilege to watch people do it. And I'm so proud. Like I trigger many people, especially in my leadership role. And I have a very big energy. The only way that I cannot is if I play small, and that's not who I am. And oh my God, it hurt me. That hurt me. It hurt me so much that me being me made somebody else feel small. That killed. And it wasn't necessarily because I said anything. I'm a very like happy, approachable person. I'm very decisive. I'm direct. I really don't sugarcoat things. If someone is like, hey, I need to talk to you, I'm like, I'm here. I'm here to listen. I'm here to absorb. But if we're in a meeting and I'm like, hey, Mackenzie, where's this at? And they're like, oh shit, like that was supposed to be done a week ago. I'm like, okay, Friday, can we get this wrapped up? If someone is sitting there and they have wounding, that hurts them. They feel attacked. They have emotions associated with it. And for the longest time, I tried to be different. I tried to change how I talk. I tried to change who I was. And I realized that I can only do so much. And at the end of the day, the person sitting across the table from me can only do so much. And you can start to become more authentically yourself, and you start attracting people that value those parts of who you are. And it makes life so much easier. When I first started doing this, I was so terrified of being weak, of being seen like I couldn't hold that leadership because I was flawed if I made mistakes. And it wasn't even work-related mistakes. In work, I was totally fine. But if someone saw me as imperfect in my personal life, what if there's a crack in their marriage? What if she actually has fear of judgment? What does that mean about me? It took a really long time. But once you clear the pipes, you see people differently. You actually aren't emotional. Like, we think that getting angry or being like, this is bullshit in a meeting isn't emotion. I have seen way more men make emotionally charged decisions in the boardroom than I have women. They just aren't crying. We've just accepted that type of emotion as strength, as a good leader, as power. We have an idea of what that emotion looks like. So we say it's okay coming from a man in this setting. And this isn't meant to say like men boo-hoo and women, we have it so rough. This is just reality. This is how society views certain emotions. And if you're a woman that has those same characteristics, you're a battle axe, you're, you're a bitch, right? You have these different personas associated with you. I was always called, you're very aggressive. But don't worry, it's a compliment. And I was like, that's actually
thanks. Yeah, actually, that's
I don't think you understand what aggressive means. So for a long time, I carried this, hurt. Nobody saw me. Nobody saw me. Nobody saw me for who I was. Nobody appreciated me. And I think a lot of us carry that. Very misunderstood. Like, all I want is X, Y, and Z. Why can't you see that? And when we have all of our own stories wrapped up in it, we will continue to perpetuate that. We will continue to create those problems in our life because that's what we know. We got to get rid of the old and learn a new way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I know that there are so many people are listening to this right now and are like, I need to do this. I need to learn more.
I hope so.
So where can they find you? Where is the best place to find you? Because I know there's going to be questions, and I know people are going to be like literally listening, and this is me. This is my life. Fix me. Yes. So where do they find you, Melissa?
They can find us. So you can come over to heyyouhuman.com. All of our information is there. If you head over to Get Started, it has all the different tools and resources that are available to you. We do have a free community that's really great. It's on our own private platform where if you're like, oh, okay, I'm hearing this. This is me. What do I do? You can come, you can ask questions. It is fully moderated by RRT certified practitioners. So this isn't like, when you go into those garbage Facebook groups of like moms help and then you just get slammed. And you're like, that wasn't helpful. Thanks. It's moderated.
This is real, legit.
Yeah. Like I actually feel worse about myself now. It's fully moderated by our team of practitioners. So if you have questions, if you're butting up against stuff, it's there to help you. As I mentioned earlier, you can learn the rapid relief technique for free, which is really our pinnacle system that we use to help people understand emotions. But drum roll. If you're like, okay, great, I'm not a DIY project. I don't want to scan this myself. I want to fix this. Like, I don't want to mess around here. I'm not trying another thing. If you're like, I'm ready for something new, we do have our Happy Human membership. And in that membership, you get access to our course. It's like a nice mix between a self-study and a one-on-one coaching. You get access to our course. You get access to VIP pricing for a one-on-one call, which is unreal. If you're like, I've got stuff, but I don't know what to do with it. Practitioners are like chipping away at you. We'll get there. It has access to daily live calls. It has access to a whole bunch of other suite of training and services. And that membership is really what is going to get you moving from a proactive or from a reactive healing state. Like, I'm annoyed. What do I have to do about it? To a proactive one. So, okay, what garbage do I get to go into today? And it'll teach you how to bring up emotions and heal them outside of an emotional state. It is magic. Literally, I tell people these statistics and I feel like I'm lying. People that are only like a third of the way through the program, 80% less stress, 80% better relationship with their significant others. People that do the full program and do the assessments at the end of it are 100% less stress, 100% less anxiety, arguably no stress and anxiety, better relationships with their body, improved relationship with their kids, improved relationships with money. It's, how we're a vessel that's holding a whole bunch of stuff, and it really has the power to change the full 360 degrees in which you relate to the life you have.
I love it. Thank you so much, Melissa. This has been like mind blowing for me, and I really appreciate you being on, and I look forward to everything that I learn. Probably going to go to your website right now. And I look forward to it's just, our life is short, right? Let's make the best out of it. And this is really a great way to make sure that you're living your best life. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for listening today. We will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Winning. Be sure to subscribe to get all of our new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, and leave a rating and review wherever you listen to Winning. To catch all of the latest from us, you can follow Winning Podcast on Instagram at winning_podcast, Facebook at Winning Podcast, and on Twitter at Winning Pod. Winning was created and is produced by me, Mackenzie Kilshaw. Music created by Summer Furby. Editing by Seth Armstrong. Special thanks to Shauna Foster for voicing our opening. And of course, a huge thank you to this episode's guest. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.